Hi guys, and welcome to the second episode on D-Day adventure here. So today I am at the small seaside town on the north Normandy coast called Mulberry, and in front of it is another of the landing beaches. Now this one, for me, this is the most special. It's Gold Beach. It's the centre of the invasion beaches, but more importantly than that is it is at this beach right here that my great uncle Tom put his landing craft on that first morning, and on 2 days later, on the 8th, he actually brings out his landing craft that brings Admiral Bertram Ramsay onto this beach. So really poignant moment for me. So like I say, it's the centre of the Allied landing beaches. To the west, apart around the head of Normandy, which is where we'll go to later on today, because there's a big German battery still in existence up there, is Omaha Beach, and also beyond that is Utah. To the east, it swings round to Juneau and the Canadian beach, and then eventually onto Sewell, and just behind Sewell, the landing site of the British 6th Airborne Division, most notably Pegasus Bridge down there on the canal, which we'll visit later on this trip. Like I say, it's early morning, the 6th of June 1944, and out there, which I'll show you in a moment, the ships are waiting. If you saw the episode I did with Daz on the American Civil War and UK History podcast, along with Tim and Chris, you'd know that the landings took place sporadically across the day as the tide moved from west to east, although Juneau has a unusual tide, riptide current, so that was a bit later on that they landed there. So it's about the third beach to get hit that morning, and like I say, I'm going to turn you around in a minute so we can have a look at the landscape here. So bear with me and I'll be with you again shortly. Okay, so I'm back on the GoPro today rather than on the phone, so all these turning around, it's going to take a little bit longer. It's going to be a bit more stop-start than I normally plan to do with just flipping the phone screen around. So ahead of us, you can see the headland there. That is the headland of Normandy. Like I say, there's a big gun battery up there that I will visit later on today, towards the end of this episode. And beyond that is Omaha Beach. I'm going to spin you around this way now, inland, so you're going to see the village of Overmarsh coming around into view now, and then going a little bit further along, you can see the whole sweep of the bay just behind the tidal breakwater there, which I will explain a lot more about in a moment. We're going to come this way just because I want to get a good view out to sea before we start doing anything else on this discussion. And unfortunately, if I swing you right around now, the part that I will really want to go and have a good dig around in a moment will get in the way, and it will spoil the surprise of actually what is sitting here on this beach at the moment. So again, you can see out there the tidal breakwaters. Like I say, that is something rather important to the whole Normandy landing story. But then here we are looking out to sea. Now, as I say, my great uncle landed a landing craft on this very beach. He only ever spoke to me about it once. Unfortunately, he died in 1992, so I was only 9 years old when he died, so unfortunately I didn't ever actually have time to speak to him properly. But the Easter before he died, it must have been about, it was certainly Easter, it was 1991. My dad took me and my brother on a trip to see the HMS Belfast, which is a large Second World War cruiser that's currently anchored in the city of London, on the River Thames. And we went round it, saw all the bits, and I got really interested in the Navy. I don't know if any of you do know this, but I actually really wanted to join the Navy when I was a kid. I applied, I got in, I was accepted, and 2 weeks before I was meant to join, I had a fit and was basically told that I was no longer medically sound to join, so that was it, all game over. But my interest for it started from around about this point, and got really excited, really into it. My dad was like, oh look, your Uncle Tom was in the Navy, let's go and see him. So we drove over to where they lived, the next town over, and saw him. And he told me a story about being in a little boat anchored underneath this ship, the HMS Belfast. Now it's a big cruiser. If you know where it is, the guns, to give you an example, the guns are pointed in a way that they can hit a service station on the M25, which is about 25 miles away. So that's how far these can lob shells, and these are big shells. They're easily the size of an average sized man, and have it let off. And it wasn't until later on that sort of I started to piece it all together and realised that he was at D-Day, and that the story of him anchoring underneath this ship was the Normandy landings. And that's why I can place him here, because I look at where the naval ships are and what beaches that they were bombarding, and that's when I know that Belfast was out there launching shots onto this very coast. So that's where I got the story from, and then a bit more of it comes to light. I'm really lucky that I have in my personal possession now a copy, his diary, and this tiny little fragment of little postcard, and it was an action postcard. So what they had to do was just scrub off what was non-applicable to them at each time. So what I did, what he wrote was I've been in action, I'm okay, I will write soon. Dated 7th of June 1944, because obviously the news would have broke that we landed, and everyone would have known kind of where everybody was. So it was just that I'm okay. So that's the so yeah, so so they land here, and unlike Omaha, this is a very I wouldn't say easy beach, but it's the one where we received the least amount of casualties, because other than the battery out there at Lange-sur-Mer, there isn't much defensively wise. There's obviously these cliffs just to the east of the village, and then there's the other village just beyond that small headland there. But other than that, look at the terrain compared to Omaha. It is much simpler to navigate. It's up, it's into the, so we get on here very quickly, very fast, and very light in comparison to Omaha. I believe it's about 400 casualties here as compared to what happens down the coast a bit, or on beaches either side, because Omaha was the buddies in the American sector, Juneau's are the buddies in the British Eastern sector, although obviously there's Canadians there, but this is part of the British Empire at the time, so it was considered part of the British sector. So very light, and they push on. Now the other main thing about gold is that you are going straight into an urban setting. So actually a lot of the fighting, when it did occur slightly deeper inland as they push through Arromanches. But by the end of the day, Arromanches is secure, and they're pushed quite a way through. In fact, about the 7th or the 8th look by air force. So, and that's about 10-15 kilometres inland, maybe something like that. So it's not that far in there, and they push through quite quickly. But the other reason why it's important, because it is a town, because there's easy roads out here, it makes it the perfect location to put one of the artificial harbours, which is known as the Mulberry. So as we swing back around this way, you're going to see, going out to sea, what appears to be a breakwater, or a line of some form of defence across there, and that is the part of the Gold Beach Mulberry Harbour. So as we discussed at Omaha, their one gets wrecked quite early on because of a storm. So the Gold Beach Mulberry is a major factor in terms of supplying the Allied Army up until the fall of Cherbourg later in June. Caen doesn't fall until nearly July. But this is why I'm bringing you over this way now, because this right in front of us here, more embedded in the beach, is part of that Mulberry Harbour. So let's go up and have a look. So once we were heading over there to have a little closer nose at this, what was a Mulberry Harbour? So the Mulberry Harbour was a artificial harbour that was towed from England and landed onto a beach. There's sections of it, there's bailey bridges to link it. So this is going to be one of the bits that we see. And here's one of the large pieces that goes out into the ocean, and it's then sunk, in effect sunk, to create a roadway leading out. Then the bailey bridge, well no, the bailey bridges would run across the top of these sections. The ships can moor up to them, they can bring other stuff. There's also another important part that's often forgotten in the story, and that's what's known as Pluto. Now Pluto is the pipeline under the ocean. So rather than trying to bring tankers across that could be disrupted by bad weather, hit by bombers, etc., Pluto is a pipeline. They sink under the ocean and they pump fuel pretty much from Portsmouth to the two Mulberries here and Omaha before it gets destroyed, and they're able to supply the army with all the diesel and fuels that it requires for that time, up until the fall of the main ports of Cherbourg and Caen. Once those fall, the Mulberries tend to then start going slightly out of use. So we're going to go up here and have a little bit of a nose. I don't know how much we can get into, but there's certainly a big hole there that we can stick our head into. So let's head in round now, just being careful because it is in the tidal flat here and I don't want to get through full of seawater. So we're going to have a bit of a look here. So there's a couple of holes in it. So as you can see, it's, don't want to go too far in because there is a danger warning sign on there, but you can see there big metal foundations, concrete inside. How it floated, I've got no idea, but they managed to get it across here. You can just see, now I'm down here, just the sheer size of it. So whilst here at Gold Beach, well, okay, so we're at the other end of it now, so we can have another little nose inside. Again, fairly similar to what you saw before. It's sort of the area that looked like it was probably like the ballast tank to allow it to float or to sink. Yeah, really cool to actually be able to come and have a nose at something that I'd read significantly about. And if you come around this side, it looks like it's lifting over quite heavily. So hopefully we can maybe see a little bit on the top, see what it looks like up there. You can certainly see here, and on this side you have got the points for a boat. Let's move just away from that for a moment, just whilst I navigate a big pool of water that I do not want to go falling over into. And as we come round here, we're going to see, you can see the flat top of it there. So like I say, it did form an impressive roadway out into the sea. So as you can see, all these upper sections of it would have, when it all linked up, it would have been a significantly long piece, significantly long roadway now. You see the water lapping in here. It's the same as when I was at Omaha. That it's very poignant sound I felt, especially at Omaha today. It's as we move away from the Mulberry Harbour now, I'm just going to go for a wander further up, but just go back to my point. Today it's a lot quieter than it was whilst I'm talking, I'm just going to take a couple of photos of this on the normal camera, so if you hear a couple of clicks, it's just that. So today's a lot quieter than it was on Monday when we went to Omaha. The temperature, a bit overcast, the temperature was about 8 degrees cooler than it was that day, so there's nowhere near as many people about on the beach. But I found that the lapping waves, the sound of the waves at Omaha was a very poignant sound because there was so much hustle and bustle activity going on the beach, lots of kids playing, things like that, that despite all that lapping wave sound overrid all of that noise. And for me that was very poignant because at first I was a bit taken aback with the amount of noise and things of people enjoying themselves on the beach. I thought it was a little bit disrespectful for what had happened there. But then actually it hit me that actually no, that's the legacy of what happened on these beaches. That these kids and their families can actually just go and play on them. And so, but the fact that the sound of that lapping, the sound of the waves gently rolling up the beach was so overpowering. That noise was very symbolic in my opinion. It really did make something of it. So yeah, very very powerful sound. So I say I'm gonna just have a wander around the side of this mulberry and then we'll head and have a walk along the beach a bit further. I must admit, compared to Omaha, there is far less here than there is in at Gold Beach than there is at Omaha. Now one of the major reasons for that is because they take this beach relatively quickly and move forward, that the main British cemetery here for the British soldiers that died here is actually further inland. It is in and around. It is on the outskirts, southern outskirts of Bayer. I went to it the other day. I want to post some pictures up on the Facebook site and the Instagram site, along with today's stuff. And the reason for that is obviously they move quickly in there and they take Caen. Now, having taken Bayer as a quite early on, it then becomes sort of the hospitals are there, things like that. So a lot of the casualties out of the gold sector as the breakout begins end up finding their way back to Bayer. As one of you there will die in hospitals, and then will die in hospital there at a later date. So in essence, rather than having the cemetery here, it is in Bayer, because that's where the lands were given to that early cemetery, that early hospital. They buried the soldiers there, and that then developed into the British cemetery for the Normandy battle. Unlike the Omaha Beach, because Omaha Beach had such a horrific start, there was also a lot of casualty dead bodies there. They were buried quite locally at first, and then gradually they started to move them to there, and the Americans actually gave them the opportunity to have them repatriated home and buried there, or to be buried in France, and but most of them chose to leave them in France and where they'd fallen. So there isn't the cemetery there. A few memorials dotted around, especially up on the cliff top there that I've been to earlier. Again, I'll post some up there, but there's nowhere near as much down here at present. But yeah, so I'm going to switch off now. There's a little bit of more Mulberry Harbour coming up. I'm going to have a snoop around, and as we wander up, but if I find anything of interest, I will flick it back on for you. Okay, so I've just come up to this other section of mulberries here that's been pulled ashore, so you can just see just sort of the intricate the whole system was. So it looks like this. I can't really tell whether these have been cut up or not, or whether or not these are just smaller sections. They look like they're just smaller sections, to be honest. Maybe the piece that we saw earlier was sort of the main routeway along it, and then these possibly sat to the side of it. And what you can tell if you look down here in the water is how much sort of oil and muck they still contain, and they're still getting sucked out. And then as you come around here, there are some little bits again where we can actually have a look and see inside, see what's going on in there. So again, it's all well welded metal in there. She's over 75 years old now, so kind of doing well to still survive this long, to be honest. Certainly in comparison to the section we saw earlier, this is looks like a far lighter construction. It's more as if this is possibly maybe part of the inshore routeway, maybe. I'm not 100% sure. Maybe it's something I need to look. It's definitely something I need to look up as to sort of the full construction of the harbours. To be honest, it's an area of the D-Day operation that, being sort of more of a military historian per se, when it comes to sort of the Second World War, rather than sort of the logistics side, it's something I'm not that gelled up on the Mulberry, so hopefully it'll be something I can look up and come back to you on. But certainly very interesting seeing actually what's gone on here and how this all came about. And also from this point you can see around the rest of the rest of the beach, swinging around to the other villages. So pretty much Golden Beach consisted of this entire bay across here. So yeah, that's it for now. I will check back in with you shortly as I'll move further up, see if there's anything else of interest I can find. And obviously, like I say, we will be heading out up to the cliff head and to have a look at the big German battery of Normandy up there, because that was going to be one of the key defences the Germans are going to be employing along this sector. But other than that, I'll see you shortly. Okay, so we're just under the cliffs here, just to the east of Alamosh, moving up towards Arnell, which is where another heavy part of the landing took place on Gold Beach here. And I've just come across this here, which is a load of coiled up metal cable. Now, my first thought is it's most probably something to do with the Mulberry, but I wouldn't be 100% certain on that. Other than that, it could potentially be sections of defences that were taken down, potentially. However, I think that the fact that they are right under the cliffs here, I don't know whether or not the engineers would have been too bothered about clearing defences away from a position that's is kind of, I would say not important, but it's going to be very difficult to, once the exit ways at Alamosh and Arnell are clear, the landings under these bridges wouldn't have been particularly important. So for example, if you look at where the two Mulberries are on Gold Beach, one goes straight into Alamosh, the other goes into Arnell. So they're aiming directly at the exit ways rather than coming in here under the cliffs. In fact, it'd be interesting to know actually how many troops landed in front of these cliffs, because other than the fact that is a fairly defensible position-ish. I say ish because unlike Omaha, the cliffs here are significantly higher and steeper, so that any fire coming down, first of all, if you were a defender, you would have to be right on the lip of those cliffs to be able to fire down, and then the angle that you'll be able to fire at, yes, okay, you would be able to be hitting the troops as they're on the low tide point, but at the same time, by being in that sort of position, you yourself will be at risk. So yeah, it would be interesting to find out actually how much fighting did occur on on this sector that we're in at the moment with the cliffs here, or whether or not it's predominantly we were looking at further down, and the fact that if Allied troops did land on this part of the beach, it would be more just to stretch the German frontage out along here, and then be able to pour more men on, and then they could strike at the designated points whilst troops here are pinning the troops down on the cliff, for example, because they're not, when I say they're steep and high, they wouldn't have been, they're not insurmountable for troops with the right training, as we saw. It's nowhere near as steep and high as the cliffs of Ponce Park, so the Rangers managed to climb up there, so which climbers will do the same kind of thing here. I just think that you're probably more likely here to be aiming directly at the lower positions where the exit points are a bit easier to get. So, like for example, as we come up here, you can see that the cliff suddenly drops away, and it's the low, sort of more like a low bluff, similar to the bluffs at Omaha, that would be a much more significantly protected defensible position, because the angle of fire will allow you to fire right up until the point that the troops are then decided to climb at the bottom of that cliff. The killing ground is much greater, whereas from back there the angle would be quite steep, so I think that you'll probably find that apart from here, troops at the water line itself, once they're across the beach, they should be fairly well protected by that cliff, which might be a reason why they actually potentially would put more troops on here, on this actual section, because they knew that it was more protected as a position to get on, and then once you was on, you was then able to say then move round and assault different places. But yeah, we've come away from the beach town now. It's a little bit more serene, shall we say, a little less people around. Munch now is the typical seaside town for those you're watching in England, very similar to sort of like your Southends, your Clactons, your Margates of this world, things like that, where souvenir stuff on the beachfront, ice cream parlours, etc. A couple of museums up there. The 360 film was quite good. The museum in Disembarkation not quite as good, shall we say. It did seem that, considering this is a British sector, that we kind of do get forgotten over here. In comparison, you go around all the souvenir shops and it's all 101st Airborne, this and 82nd Airborne, and it's all like, well, we're 100 miles away from where they were. A little bit 6th Airborne Division stuff, but other than that, not a lot. They kind of, yeah, we do seem to be forgotten a little bit for our involvement here. But yeah, let's move up and something up a bit further up. I'm starting to see a really just sort of on the beach installation, but we've got never noticed that before. Going up to our now. Then probably what I'll do is hop back onto the main road or back to the car park. It's 2 o'clock now. I've got until last fall before my car park ticket runs out. When I got to nice somewhere, see that if you've got time, I might jump in the car, drive down to Juno, do a quick visit at the beach at Juno, just so that one's done as well. I don't think it's that far on the road, to be honest. I'll have to have a look, but I think maybe do that. Yeah, we're coming up to our now here. So the troops didn't assault Arnell frontally. They did that over much, but not here. That's mainly due to when the high tide comes in, it does lap right up to the sea, right on Elshot. So although they were landing at low tide, there was the anticipation that maybe they wouldn't clear the beach before high tide washed in, so they didn't land directly in front purely for that reason alone. But also there was the hangover, shall we say, from Dieppe, where in 1942 let's call it a commando raid. To this day people still can't really work out what Dieppe was. Was it a large-scale commando raid? Was it a proto invasion attempt to capture a foothold and hold it long enough to reinforce it? It's a little bit unclear what the idea was around what to do with Dieppe. But one of the main things to come out of that was the assault on a built up port, for example, that they were too strong defended. It wasn't the best idea to do, and that's why eventually the Calvados coast of Normandy, which is what we're in at the moment, which is from the eastern part of the Constantine Peninsula all the way around to the Seine estuary, was designated chosen when we're up to what I thought was the beach installations. It looks to me that they're just standard beach erosion ruins, so not really worth stopping to have a look at. You can see a bit more of the Arnell breakwater that's made up of the old Mulberry Harbour. Again, like I say, that was towed out and into position. Obviously bits of it have sunk, as it's underwater. You can see one over there that's sort of looking like it's a bit on the sorry state, as if it might be nice to sink. A few other little sections, but yeah, can't time now. So like I say, going back to that idea about position, this one is from the east coast was chosen. It also held at either side, so the reason why you could so they could go directly for Cherbourg up the sword was to hit directly with the draft down, catch us and come. So grabbing proper pull fairly quickly, getting it back. Mulberry Harbours was to do their job. Just here you can see boys lying on the beach, so that gives you an idea of actually how high up the tide has come here. So yeah, so that's where we're at the moment. This, as you see at the moment, is the landing beach on the 6th of June. As a result, you can imagine being in the positions of landing is quite much getting around. As I say, they cleared it pretty quickly. This particular beach. So you're going back to Dieppe, so that was one reason why we chose the doctrine of attacking as a result of the catastrophe at Dieppe still remains today. So if, for example, 4 years ago, the British task force went down to it was decided that against a frontal assault on Stanley itself, but instead to land on the opposite side of the island, originally the plan was to go across by helicopter, but the sinking of the landing conveyor prevented that. Instead what they did is they picked up their equipment, they marched across the winds and planners together. The fact that the Argentines had to deal with the Marines and perhaps the Gurkhas and the Guards all holding on one, they didn't really stand a chance, to be honest. But yeah, so but that doctrine of and that fear of assault for our position head on is still something that's linked in military ideology. forced him to agree with it. It was just purely, I think, he knew how bad Gallipoli turned out and was scared of doing it again. And likewise, you see that with Monty as well. With a lot of his decisions, the British High Command had all through whether that's Churchill in his political career, whether it's Monty as a lieutenant in the trenches, but they'd all been through that, so that as a result, when you get these bits of time in the Second World War, you can see why they were I can't remember who this was that said it now. Said how the British fought the First World War with ingenuity and cunning, whilst the Americans fought it with sheer muscle. And that's exactly that thought process, you see, that it was that the I've done with this so I'll clear this, that the oops, sorry, just climbing over a little river outlet there. So yeah, going back to that, the British fought the Civil War with ingenuity and cunning, whilst the Americans fought it with muscle. The reason why that was deemed the case was that obviously the Americans didn't have the baggage of the First World War and the trenches to the same extent that the British had. The British had lost a generation of its youth less than 30 years before, or 40 years before, and these are the children of that generation that are fighting now. So you can see why that was certainly still haunting them, and so something like Gallipoli certainly did have that effect on Sir Winston Churchill. So yeah, we're coming up now to our now, and it looks like there might be a form of a bit of a bunker or something up ahead. Then the long sea water, I know, so the other day, this is the sea water where the high tide comes right up again, so it is something to be aware of. So like I say, it wasn't assaulted directly, so this area now with the behind where that river came in now does, and then the road that leads up from there up probably back towards where the car park is on the cliffs overlooking our marsh, and that's our church there. Would be heavy landing zone from what I would understand it to be. But yeah, as we move up here, yeah, there's certainly see what is a old bunker, and then into the window itself. So I'm going to switch it off now, just have a little wander around and see what it is. I think I know some much more sleepy than the bush. That's obviously so nice and cold in the Gold Beast Port is. And then we'll head back up the road, jump in the car to the gun battery. So we've got to possibly swing by Juno on the way back, or it's completely in the opposite direction. We're on the way back from Caen, but I've got a long day tomorrow in Caen, so we'll have to see. But yeah, we'll see you in a bit. Yeah, so I just thought I'd show you this whilst I'm here quickly. This was built into the modern sea wall, but it's clearly a form of fortification going back from there, and judging by this aperture in the wall just here, either a artillery piece or a machine gun. As you can see, depending upon where the second aperture would have been, that gives a wide sweeping range of fire directly across the beach there, so anyone attempting to come up will be devastated by that fire. Like I say, it's devastating because that aperture that is more likely to be a piece of artillery rather than a machine gun, but still it's a demanding position to be. And these are good as well, as you see walking down here on the lampposts. There's World War II heroes, and each one's got a different person on it as you move along, and they've probably got some, this is probably where they landed, I would say. So at the minute we are in the Marine Commando section, by the look of things. Okay, so at the back of the beach houses now, just walking back along the route in Bucky, which runs parallel to the coast, and as you can see, the landscape behind the beaches here is significantly different to what you find in the western sector, specifically behind Omaha, and the region is known as the Bocage, within the hedgerows. Here it's a lot more open country, so once the heavy armour starts coming up, see through places like there, then it's a lot, they're able to push forward a lot faster, further and faster than the Americans do when whilst they're caught up in the hedgerow fighting, clearing it field by field. But obviously the Brits do hit a very hard nut when they get up as far as Caen, and it takes 6 weeks for them to take Caen, but we're heading back up towards Avamoche, and then on to the gun battery. Hi everyone, this is just going to be a short episode on its own here, but linked in with the D-Day series. So I've come up now from where I was earlier with Gold Beach and Avalanche, and then Juno Beach, and now I'll come back through Arnels and Avalanche, and now come up to the longest storm there. Now the reason I'm up here is that there is a large part of the Atlantic wall still intact here, so this headland is kind of the separation point between to the east Gold Beach and to the west Omaha. So large cannon fortifications up here that actually acted more as a anti-ship bombardment rather than actually being able to pour fire down onto the Allied invasion beaches, as you will see in a moment when we come round, by turn you around. Actually a fair way back from the sea, so to speak. So yeah, I'm just going to spin you around, so a sec and I'll be back. So as you can see, there's a sea off over there, so we are a significant way back from the coast itself, but as you can see here, there is a large gun emplacement. Now this is probably likely to have something like a 105, certainly big, certainly a large caliber gun of some description, and will probably have been involved in anti-ship fire, counter-battery fire, something like that. The 105s that were situated at the Havre actually spent the majority of their time in a gun-to-gun battle with HMS Warspite, rather than actually inflicting any damage on the landing beaches. So just gonna go over, have a look. There is some wreckage in there of some description, and you can see sort of it's quite deep. It has looks like it's taken a couple of hits, so we'll have a nosy on up over the top to see what we can see. Actually it's quite good up here, because you can see the rest of the battery panning out, and the one in front definitely has got a gun inside it. yeah, you can't really see much, but it does look like it has taken. This one has taken a hit or two, that's for certain. So now we're just going to come down to the second emplacement. So it looks like about 4 in total here. Like I say, this one in at front actually has a gun in it, so we can have a look at sort of the side calibre that would have been firing. Yeah, it's much bigger than 105. It's more like a it's more like a naval gun, that. You can see the sort of shells that they've been lobbing out. You can even see the rifling in it. But yeah, we'll have a little nose round, see if we can get round the back here. You can see the water down there. So you can see in. You can see hopefully there some of the working parts of the gun. And then if you come back here, we'll have a little nose, see what else we can find. Okay, so you can see there where it's obviously been hit. So I can't see anything in there at all. And then out the back here, so yeah, that was quite cool to walk through that and see that. See sort of in behind the gun that was in place there. Looks like it has been knocked out. This one's got one as well. That's a little bit better condition by the look of things. Again, when you see on the top, as you saw from earlier, it has collapsed somewhat. Guessing that was either by direct fire or later demolition. You can see it across there again, the outline of the bay. And as you can see, just how high up, come on, in the position we are here. Very similar to Point de Hoc. I don't believe anyone was sent up here to capture it in the same way, but I may be wrong. Again, here you can see the size of the guns. Just with this one, because it's a bit more intact, you can see a bit more of the working parts of the gun in here. Also the barrel itself, where it's pointed upwards, back here, and more of the movable parts. So yeah, fearsome piece of kit, that one. And if we have another look around here, it might just be a little bit more to see. Slightly different, doesn't look like it, looks pretty similar. A couple of magazines. Doesn't look like this one's has had so much damage inflicted upon it, so we might better climb up on top. It doesn't look like it, looks quite high, to be honest. for those of you of the British audience that will be watching this, you may actually recognise these gun emplacements from a couple of our old comedy programmes. I believe it could be the ones that are featured certainly at the beginning of the Dad's Army film, and it's also possible that these were the ones, if it wasn't these ones themselves, a mock-up of these that was featured in the Hello series when Renee's mother-in-law went to the toilet inside one and couldn't find the chain and pulled something and the whole gun went off. It's quite possible that these are gun emplacements if it wasn't the ones that were actually used, and it was the ones that certainly inspired them. And if you look out across there, just by where the hang gliders are, or parachutists, whatever they are, you can see across the bay the Constantine Peninsula stretching up into the distance that would be Utah Beach. As they go, Omaha is sort of just over the cliff from here. Very close by from this point. It's most eastern sector. So yeah, that's the last of the gun emplacements. So there's 4 in total anchored around the headland, 2 looking directly straight out and then 2 anchoring off either side. So we've got the whole thing fairly well covered, and would certainly have been sighted up at by the naval guns, and probably taken those on during the invasion. Okay, so I've just come across this bunker, so it's sort of munitions, so I'm guessing it means it's a magazine. But, yeah, there's quite wet and damp down it there. Yep, just got a footful of manky water, so I don't think I'll be staying here too long. But yeah, that's the magazine for the battery down there. Okay, so we're just going to have a look around some of these other fortifications around here. Most of it's back there of the important stuff like the gun emplacements. But, so you've got this part here, so like some kind of range finding device. Just through there you can hear the sea coming in, so the beaches are down there, obviously not one of the landing beaches, but something similar. Obviously they wouldn't land in front of such a heavy fortification. This is something that was learned with disaster effects at Dieppe. Also from this position you can see the gun emplacements, all 4 of them sitting there, and just how low profile they are to the ground, and if you'd need to know that they were there really before you would spot them. But obviously all this vegetation on this side would have been cleared at the time. Housing for a 80mm mortar down there. And the entranceway to get down there, and then they come this way, and there's a bit more to see. So from there you can really get a good profile of them. And then as we head round this way, it appears to be either an observation and machine gun post. Around here, like I say, this is one of the most intact sections of the Atlantic Wall. It's still in existence. You can see there just how close we are now actually to the coast. So this obviously is an observation point. As we come round here, see what else there is. So you can see out there, it would be an observation point, possibly have a machine gun in here as well. Very similar to the observation point at the start of the longest day when the guard is looking out and he stops to take a drink of coffee, and then when he looks up again the high invasion fleet's coming towards him. You can really see how that scene was unplayed from this position here. Okay, so now we're coming around the base of the AP. There's a little stairwell down here, so we're just going to go down and have a look. It is pretty dark down here, so give us a sec and I will just turn my light on my phone so we'll see what we're looking at. So if you've got a bit of seasick there, I'll try to get the light torch on. Yep, here we go. So I don't know how much of this you're picking up on here. Kind of looks a bit Blair Witch at the moment. But we are got a food, got about 1 minute or something. Up the stairwell, and now you've got this would definitely be a machine gun post down here, and then the OP being above. And we've had a bench running here, so firing step, machine gun placed on top. Wood, much more secure location than what was above. So yeah, definitely worth a stalk down here, I must admit. So bear with me whilst I find my way out of here. And watch me head. Even for me. So yeah, quite what I would say is how strongly the construction these are, that 70 years left, derelict, and yet they're still able to they're still standing to such a significant rate. That would have been the original entranceway. You can just see a ladder there, and then some steps, so that would have been the original entranceway up to the OP at the top. And as we come round, here you can see the opening at the bottom, the opening slit for the machine gun position, and then the OP at the top, with the possibility that should an armed force come this way and attempt to capture it in the same way that they did at Point de Hoc, they will go straight for the OP, and they potentially wouldn't see the machine gun slit underneath, and that would just open up and take out anyone who is foolish enough to come up this slope in front of it. It's also hopefully my camera didn't get in the way of that. It was also the first, one of the first points of defence for the battery. There is a warning sign here, so I'm not going to go too far. But yeah, the cliff does drop off quite steeply there. And as you come round here and have a look, again, there's brambles and things, but it does disappear quite quickly. So yeah, this would have been, all of this wouldn't be here. It would have been really cleared out. This would have had a wide view of sweeping range of fire. Okay, so we've just come out of the OP now, heading back around. So obviously you've got the battery behind us here, and in the distance there you can just see the Pointe de Bresin, which was the western flank of Gold Beach, stretching around the bay there beyond, and in Juno then cutting back beyond that, also down in the harbour. I don't know if you can see it on the screen. I don't know, depending upon what screen you're watching, you probably can't, but you have got the remnants of the Mulberry Harbours jutting out of Aramosh Bay and Arnells Bay as well, out to sea now. One thing that has on my 2 visits to the two beaches so far, Omaha and Gold and Juno, 3 beaches should I say, it's just actually how big they are. We're used to in England to sort of small little coves and things like that, and these are wide sweeping expanses. So I've just noticed something, so I'm just going to take you through here. I'm not sure if we're going to be able to see much at all. No, it's just a cliff edge off. I was hoping it'd come out to a bit of a view, but just more brambles unfortunately, so we'll head back on and then head back round. So I think by the look of things this is it for the battery, but well worth a visit I must say. So I'm just going to pop that out. Yeah, that's me lot for today. It's been a long it's been a very long day, I must admit, doing Gold, Juno and the battery here all in a day. Has taken it out of me, so I hope you've enjoyed it. Like I said, I'll be posting all these as individual episodes, along with a few more that I'm still to film whilst here in Normandy. I must say I'm really enjoying what I'm seeing and going around hunting stuff. Hope you're enjoying the content that when it eventually comes out. Unfortunately, didn't bring my laptop with me, so I can't pop it out live. But once I get home, it will be coming out shortly. So yeah, stay tuned, and hope you'll enjoy it when it all comes out. So I've just come out the visitor centre here at the battery, and it just said that each gun, or the guns there here, had a range of up to 20 kilometres, and each one was powerful enough to destroy a ship within that 20 kilometre radius, so that each battery was actually able to take out a fleet of ships as it passed. So just to give you an idea of how strong a defensive position this one actually was here. So yeah, just thought that was an interesting fact. Okay, as I've just noticed as well when I'm coming out, I've returned by this road just here behind, so we completely missed this from over here. It looks like there's another part of the installation around here, so I'm just going to go and have a look at that quickly before we leave. So it's another one. Actually, I don't know, it's the first one.